Welcome to the Science of Fiction HFY Galaxy Tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from HFY Galaxy Tales, where humanity always finds a way. The Bloodstorm at Delta 13, the ground of planet Delta 13 was covered with ash and broken steel. Smoke rose high into the yellow sky. The human army had landed there just 2 days ago, but now, most of them were gone. Only silence remained. Sergeant Eric Vale stood at the edge of a destroyed battlefield. His boots stepped over burned weapons, shattered armor, and lifeless bodies. He held his plasma rifle tight, but his heart was heavier than the weapon. This was not war, this was slaughter. The human soldiers didn't fall in a battle. They were hunted. The reports were confusing. One creature, not a machine. Fangs like knives. Fast, too fast. Red eyes in the dark. Eric didn't believe it until now. He looked up. Something moved in the smoke. A shadow. Tall, slow, calm. Then she appeared. The creature, she looked like a woman, but not human. Her skin was pale silver. Her eyes glowing red. Her long black hair floated behind her like mist. Black wings stretched out from her back, wide and sharp like blades. Her clothes were dark and made of strange armor. And her mouth. Her mouth held sharp fangs, still wet with blood. She stepped over the ruins like a queen walking through her court, not rushing, not hiding. Eric raised his weapon. Stop. The alien woman paused. She looked at him with strange eyes like she knew him. Then she took another step forward. Eric aimed at her chest. I said, stop. She tilted her head. And then she did something no one expected. She dropped to her knees. The strongest alien weapon. The creature that killed hundreds. Knelt before a single human. Eric was confused. His finger was on the trigger. Why did you stop? He shouted. Why are you kneeling? The alien woman spoke softly. Her voice echoed like wind through a cave. Because I've seen you. In my dreams. Eric froze. What? She looked up. Her red eyes were no longer full of rage. They were soft now. Afraid. You carry the mark, she whispered. The same mark as the ones who once protected us. I don't know what you're talking about, Eric said, stepping back. She slowly reached into a pouch on her side and pulled out a glowing crystal. It shone with a golden light. She placed it gently on the ground and pushed it toward him. Eric looked at it, and his eyes went wide. The crystal had the same symbol carved into it as his old family blade, an ancient sword passed down through generations. How do you know this symbol? He asked. She lowered her head. Your blood is not like the others, it sings to me. You are not just a soldier. You are the one we have waited for. Eric was speechless. Was she lying? Was this a trick, or was this something bigger? Before he could speak, his radio buzzed. Eric, get out of there. She's too dangerous. He turned it off. The woman was still on her knees. If you want to kill me, she said, I will not stop you. But no, this side destroyed them because they attacked first. I did not come to make war. I came searching for you. Eric's mind was racing. All his life, he was trained to fight aliens, to see them as threats. But this one, she was a monster, yes, a killer. But now, she looked like a fallen warrior. Not evil. He lowered his rifle but didn't drop it. I don't trust you, he said. I don't ask you to, she replied. I only ask you to listen. Suddenly, a loud explosion shook the ground. Enemy drones, not human, not hers, flew over the mountains. A third army had arrived. The alien woman stood up quickly, her wings spreading. They're not mine, she said. They hunt us both. The sky turned red with lasers and fire. She turned to Eric and said something shocking. Stay behind me. Then she flew into the air, like a shadow rising from the earth, and charged at the machines. End of part 1. Next. The warriors passed and the vampires truth *. The warriors passed and the vampires truth *. The sky was burning red. Explosions rocked the mountain ridge. Giant machines, metal beasts with glowing red eyes stormed the battlefield. These weren't human. They weren't virulent, they were something else. Unknown. Ruthless. Eric took cover behind a broken ship wing as the alien vampire woman flew into the firestorm. She moved like smoke, her wings slashing the air. Her claws tearing through steel. The machines tried to shoot her but she was too fast. She ripped through the first one, then the second. But there were too many. 10 more replaced each one she destroyed. Eric couldn't just watch. He stood and ran forward, aiming his plasma rifle. He fired at the closest machine's leg. Sparks flew, it stumbled in. The vampire woman struck it down in a single blow. For a few minutes, they fought side by side, a human soldier and an alien vampire against a shared enemy. After the battle, the field was covered in black metal and smoke. The machines were gone. The vampire woman landed beside Eric. Her armor cracked, blood on her lips, her eyes glowing dimmer now. "You didn't run," she said softly. "Neither did you," Eric replied. She looked at him closely. "You could have shot me back there. But you didn't." "I still might," Eric said, trying to hide his confusion. "Who are you?" She took a shaky breath. "My name is Silvara, last of the Sangari queens." "Sangari?" he asked. She nodded. "Long ago, we lived in peace. My people had an alliance with humans. Before your time, before this war, but we were betrayed by those we trusted, hunted, killed. So I became something else, a weapon, a monster, if needed." Eric lowered his weapon slightly. "Then why didn't you kill me?" She stepped closer and placed the glowing crystal she had shown earlier in his hand. "That symbol is from the first pact, a promise between Sangari and Old Earth Kings. Your family line once protected my people. You carry their blood." He looked down at the crystal and remembered his grandfather's words. "You are more than a soldier, Eric. You carry something ancient." Back then, Eric thought it was just an old man's story. Now, maybe it was true, but that doesn't explain why you destroyed my army, he said sharply. Silvara looked down. Her voice grew cold. "Your commanders attacked first. They entered our sacred lands, burned our trees, took our young for study. I gave warnings. They ignored them, so I showed them fear." Eric stepped back, angry. "You could have spared them." "I tried," she said, "but war does not wait for words." They stood in silence. The wind howled across the dead valley. Then, Silvara winced in pain and fell to one knee. A deep wound on her side was still bleeding. Eric rushed to her. "You're hurt." She gave a weak smile. "This body is strong, but not unbreakable." He pulled out a field patch from his kit and pressed it against the wound. She hissed but didn't stop him. "You should rest," he said. She looked up at him. "You care for me, even after all this." "I don't know what I feel," he replied, honestly, "but you saved me, and maybe I owe you that." They stayed quiet for a moment. Then Silvara whispered something strange. "If I must die, let it be by your side." Eric looked into her eyes. "What does that mean?" She reached into her armor and pulled out a second crystal, this one blue, glowing softly. "This is a bloodlink gem," she said. "If I give it to you, our fates will be tied. I will protect you, always. And you will carry part of me within you." Eric hesitated. "I don't even know you. But you will," she said gently. "And I already know you. I've seen your soul in my dreams for years." His hand hovered over the crystal. Was this madness, or fate? Finally, he took it. Later that night, they sat beside a fire in a small cave. Silvara rested, her wounds slowly healing. Eric stared at the stars above. He had come here as a soldier. Now, he was something else. Not just a fighter, not just a protector, but a key to something ancient and powerful. And maybe, just maybe, to peace. The night on Delta 13 was colder than usual. Inside a small cave, Eric sat beside a weak fire. His armor was scratched. His hands were dirty. His mind, even worse, filled with questions, doubts, and strange emotions he didn't understand. Next to him, Silvara, wounded, still recovering, lay resting. Her wings were folded. Her silver skin shimmered in the dim firelight. And the blood-link crystal he took from her. It pulsed faintly in his pocket, like a second heartbeat. He stared at the flames. "What am I doing?" he thought. "I'm a human soldier. She's a monster to many. I should have ended this." But he didn't, because in her eyes, he saw something no machine or weapon ever showed: pain, regret, and a hunger not for blood, but for peace. Suddenly the cave shook. A low boom echoed from the distance. Eric stood, quickly, grabbing his rifle. He rushed to the mouth of the cavern. What he saw made his stomach drop. Dozens of enemy machines were moving through the forest below, glowing with red lights. They were searching, and they were heading straight for them. He turned back to Silvara. "We have to move. Now." She sat up slowly, wincing in pain. "Too late. They've found us." A mechanical voice echoed from the hills. "Surrender the Sangari. Human will be terminated. No mercy." Eric's grip tightened on his rifle, but Silvara rose shakily to her feet, holding herself tall. "No," she whispered. No more running. She walked toward the open cave mouth, but Eric grabbed her arm. You're hurt, let me fight. She looked at him, her voice low and full of power. No, we fight. Together, the blood-link crystal in Eric's pocket glowed brighter. He could feel her strength flowing into him, her heartbeat, her power, her will. He nodded. Then let's make our stand. Outside the cave, under the shadow of moonlight, Eric and Silvara faced the machines. The enemy was merciless. Drones flew overhead. Tanks rolled through trees. Heavy weapons pointed at them. Eric took cover and fired first sharp, fast shots, targeting weak points in their legs. Silvara leaped into the air with a burst of shadow, her wings wide, her claws glowing purple with Sangari energy. She slashed through metal and fire like it was nothing. She moved with grace, even while injured. But it wasn't enough. More and more machines kept coming. Eric was knocked back by a blast. His weapon flew from his hands. He hit the ground hard. Pain shot through his chest. One of the machines raised its gun and aimed straight at him. Then a flash of black shadow passed over him. Silvara took the hit. She screamed as the blast tore through her side, but she didn't fall. She roared with rage and threw herself into the center of the enemy wave, unleashing a power Eric had never seen before. Wings of fire, eyes like stars. She wasn't just a vampire, she was a queen. When it ended, silence returned to Delta-13. All the machines were gone, destroyed. Silvara collapsed beside Eric. He crawled to her, his hands shaking. Sil, stay with me. She smiled weakly, blood on her lips. You are the reason I found my soul again. No, he whispered. You found mine. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the glowing blood-link crystal. It was cracked. Now, fading, he held it tightly in both hands, and it glowed brighter. Eric didn't know how it worked. He just knew what he had to do. He pressed the crystal to her chest. It sank into her skin like light into water. Her eyes widened. Her wounds slowly began to close. Her heartbeat returned. She gasped, then breathed. Alive. Later that day, human and Sangari scouts arrived and found them sitting together on the battlefield. Side by side. Word spread quickly. The vampire queen had spared the human had saved the queen, and the war had changed. Weeks later, Eric stood before the United Human Council, not in armor but in ceremonial robes. Silvara stood beside him, her presence powerful, but peaceful. They announced a new treaty, not based on fear but on shared blood and choice. Final scene that night. On a quiet hill under the stars of Delta-13, Silvara looked up at Eric. You could have left me, he smiled, but I didn't. She touched the mark on his chest where the blood-link crystal once glowed. We are more than human and Sangari now, she said. We are bound. Eric nodded, and the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter.